put some respect on Terry Crews's name. So I recognize that because I'm a woman, people don't really want to hear me talk about masculinity or how it's going to doom us unless we intervene right now. But recently I've discovered that people don't really want to hear men talk about it either. It's not just the messenger, it's also the message. That's really come into full view recently as Terry Crews has been talking about his sexual assault. Last week he testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he talked really clearly and cogently about how toxic masculinity has negatively impacted his life. It was actually quite remarkable.
As a man, I was taught my entire life that I must control the world. So, I use power, influence, and control to dominate every situation, from the football field to the film set, even in my own home with my wife and children.
Since Crews revealed that he was sexually assaulted by former Hollywood agent Adam Bennett last year, he's been going around the country telling us about his Me Too experience and really trying to expand our understanding of what sexual assault looks like.
But I can say that one man's horseplay is another man's humiliation. And I chose to tell my story and share my experience to stand in solidarity with millions of other survivors in the world. That I know how hard it is to come forward. I know the shame associated with assault. It happened to me. I'm not a small or insecure man. But in that moment, and in the time following, I've never felt more emasculated.
Now, it's been sad, but not at all surprising to me to see so many men, and black men in particular, trying to discredit Crews or make fun of him. 50 Cent, who has been terrible for the past 15 years at least, posted this on Instagram. First of all, nobody knows how they would react in that situation until it happens to them, so I'm already annoyed by that caption. But this idea that every man who's been violated will respond violently says a lot about who we think men are, what we expect them to do. But it also says a lot about how we treat men who don't live up to those expectations. We neglect them, we abandon them. It's very strange to me that so many men endorse this idea that if you are not violent after somebody assaults you, then it wasn't really serious or didn't really happen or you don't deserve support. Because yeah, women are much more likely to be sexually assaulted than men, but men still account for 10% of rape victims according to the Department of Justice. We should be thinking about what masculinity is and why those rules are so arbitrary. Why is it that a man who decides that he doesn't want to beat up a rich white man, that he'd rather stay out of jail and be able to take care of his family, why is he deemed less masculine than somebody who takes a different route? I loved the way that Terry Crews said this.
Now, one of the other things is that I'm supposed to punch him out because that's the whole trope that we've been taught. I mean, here I am, 240-pound black man, played in the NFL, the whole thing. The trope is now I'm a big violent man. I'm supposed to just, and I had even black men coming at me like, hey man, you supposed to go knock his head off. But the thing is, and they're like, man, your career ain't even all that. For you to be, letting your balls get felt on and all this stuff and not do nothing. But this is the thing. My family is all that. My wife is all that. My kids are all that. And I had to look at the big
you gotta
picture.
feel like you are that.
The big picture, right. And the most important thing, I know who I am. I know I'm a father. I know I'm a husband. I know who I am.
Terry Crews is trying to push back and expand some of our preconceived notions. Y'all, there is a real problem with the sorts of performances that toxic masculinity compels. And it seems that a lot of men are just mad because Terry Crews is naming a thing a thing. Here are a couple of tweets I saw. And to be clear, when we're talking about toxic masculinity, we're not just talking about black men. All men can be toxic. It just so happens that Terry Crews is a black man, and that adds an interesting dynamic to this conversation. And let's talk about this toxic homosexuality thing. It's clearly rooted in homophobia. The aim is to pit homosexuality as in direct opposition to masculinity. That's clearly not true. Gay men, queer men, LGBT folks have been pushing back against that kind of discrimination for years. But toxic masculinity refers to how men are socialized to seek power through displays of domination. That has nothing to do with sexuality. This whole thing is absurd. And that's why when we talk about rape, we say that rape is about power. Now, I think it's important to note that rape is about sex and power, but that power play is extremely important. That means that a rapist can be anyone. There's no sexuality that rapists are predisposed to. Adam Bennett is married to a woman. I have no clue how he identifies sexually. And I have no clue what sort of sexual desires, if any, were running through his mind when he decided to grab Terry Crews's penis. But I do know that black men's bodies have long been sexualized and fetishized, and white men have sexually assaulted black men in order to assert dominance. Now, that has been true for a long time, from the days of lynching when lynched men were castrated and sometimes forced to consume their genitals, to today when men are stopped, they are routinely sexually assaulted while they are frisked or detained. So no, we're not gonna blame this on gay men. And let's be clear, this has not been a come up for Terry Crews. This is not the kind of visibility that you want. He actually mentioned during his testimony that he is not going to be in the Expendables 4 because one of the producers asked him to drop his lawsuit against Adam Bennett. The whole conversation about this man is just sad. And I want to be clear that my feminism is not just about indiscriminately taking aim at men, though sometimes some men gotta go down. It is about deconstructing power relations. It's about making sure that these sorts of institutions no longer have the power to facilitate these sorts of abuses. And if you're against that, if you're against making sure that people are safe and happy and healthy, you're hustling backwards. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I've added a new feature to the Patreon, a patrons only podcast. So sign up to get exclusive content, reading lists, as well as merch, or make a one-time donation to help us continue this work. And join me for Black Girls Gather, meetings of black women across the country. We'll hang out, we'll have fun. See you there. Thanks guys. Bye.